Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. We are here to talk wrestling. More specifically, we are here to talk about why things don't happen the way they should and why my heart is broken. Marcus, how are you?
Good. 'Tis the season.
'Tis the season to be seasoned. La, 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 la. So, I need to type up this tweet, so I'm going to ask you a question. I need a question to ask first. Have you been watching any good wrestling lately?
Yeah, I caught up on the last two Gleet shows. Gleet,
Gleet, not
Gleat.
Glee.
I did not watch that. They all ended up on the CW one way or another anyway. Um, um, yeah, they had some good stuff. I have to catch up on Impact. Like I literally got to watch. I think I'm gonna just check out the first show after Bound for Glue, and then go right into Overdrive, and then go from there. Um, I'm looking forward to that. And other than that, no. Although I might go back and watch some old Lucha episodes heading off into the holidays. Lucha Underground episodes.
So,
Oh.
I don't want to spoil anything from Impact,
Yeah.
but do you know about who got written off?
No.
Someone is returning back to the WWE, so they did another angle where they killed somebody off. I won't go into details if you want to be surprised, but if you
Okay.
want,
Saw something about this. Is a certain overly aggressive bald person.
you mean a naked mole rat? Yes.
Okay.
Would you like some details? I can provide some details.
I guess him and he finally old dude finally snapped. Huh? The runt finally snapped.
Yep.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. There was a meeting involved. A table. I think a knife. I potentially read.
Yep.
Okay.
And Eric Young got stabbed to death. Apparently, this is Jimmy Jacobs doing. He's the one who wrote the alley death scene. And frankly, I'm not a fan. I understand it's dramatic and it does get people talking. Like all anyone was talking about Friday morning was Eric Young getting stabbed to death by Cody Deaner. So it worked, right? It worked. But on the flip side, like, how do you bring him back now? He's literally dead. It's like I'm not a fan of how they go about it, but that's how it went. With that being said, Eric Young back in the WWE. How you feeling about that idea?
Don't much matter. I appreciate the fact that he came back to Impact, although he is one of what do you mean? One of the main reasons. He's the reason why we didn't have a longer reign with Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
And he came back. Started the faction. He did his evil Nakamura rat thing for a good stretch there. And if they're not going to put him back in significant title portions or whatever, and this puts Dean in a more elevated position, I don't. Although I'm about to say I don't know where you go with Doring, but Doring has a far more important things to worry about right now than wrestling. God bless the man. But yeah, I just it don't bother me one way or another. He didn't. It didn't feel like it was one of those things where he came in because he was always waiting to go back. So, he came in, he did his thing, and you know, appreciate the time.
I agree with you with the idea that Doring obviously has bigger issues at the moment. What I
Yeah.
will say is, even if Doring does make a full recovery, which we're all pulling for, the stable as is, even with Doring, isn't great because you got Alan Angels, who, I mean, okay, and then you have Big Con or Big Crone or Chrome Big or Chrono Brigger Connor from the Ascension. Like I would rather you not sign known stars than sign those types of known stars. Like I would rather see more young guys getting a break in Impact than seeing these D tier dudes with nothing to offer sucking up airtime. No, thank you, sir. I'm good. So I don't have any faith that Alan Angels and Connor end up being anything worth watching either. So sadly, unfortunately, it's going to be one of those things where they're going to get a lot of airtime and other more deserving prospects may not. But then again, I don't even know who they're interested in anymore. Like, Demore really has his own set of guys that he's really interested in. Like this new Indian face dude, I forget his name. Like, they're really putting a lot behind him. I don't know why. He's very iffy in the ring. He's got a great look. Like, he looks like a smaller Mahabali Shera. But he's not a great worker yet. So, like, I don't know. Then they just signed another Indian wrestler. So, not sure what they're doing with that. Then, of course, they got Joe Hendry, which I think might be the best new thing they've brought in to Impact in a long time. He's just a delight. They did a skit where Moose was just finished up a squash match, and he's like, I don't want to hear Bully Ray's name. You don't say his name. And then Joe Hendry came out and he goes, well, usually when people say don't say his name or say his name and it'll appear, you usually call for me. And then Moose and Hendry got into it, and Hendry's just a lot of fun, and his theme song is so damn fun. I wish it was a little longer, but it's great. So I really don't know what they're doing with guys like Alan Angels and some of these other individuals. I forget who the new Indian guy is because they just signed him. Signs new wrestler. Let's see what we got here. Jay Vidal or Vidal. I think that's the new guy. He's a LGBT. Hey, he looks decent. Like he's got a nice look to him. He's in shape, decent hairline. I don't know what they're gonna do with him, but maybe they'll do something. Marcus, do you want to see more guys like your Joe Hendrys and Jay Vidals, or are you glad that we're giving guys like Connor a break? Again.
I don't know, man. I prefer to see more guys like more guys like Mike Bailey and bringing back in guys like Frankie Kazarian who got unfinished business that can go at a level of tier that could elevate other guys and put on some great string of matches like Frankie did. That's more my side. I don't care about Connor. You saying D-list might have been as generous as I usually try to be, but yeah, I got to see this Vidal guy, and I've never really been into Hendry as much as you, so um, I'll probably go a different route. But like you said, you can't even call what they're into anymore because like they're just like, oh, he looks good. I'm like, yeah, but does he want to be here long term, and is he really a hitter like you think he is? Because it's not like you're going getting people with the personality of a I'm about to say Edwards, but I'm trying to think of somebody the personality of a Callahan with the skills of a Josh Alexander. Not like you're getting a string of those guys. So
Yeah, and those guys have to be cultivated, developed.
yeah,
Some of them not always easy to see who they are at first, and then other times when you actually have a guy that could, in fact, become something, they end up going elsewhere. So it's one of those things where, granted, that they have a bit harder of a time than other companies to get some of these younger stars, but it really shouldn't be that hard. Like, man. Well, we'll see what this Jay Vidal dude turns into because he looks like he could be a prospect. Then again, they also already have that other Indian wrestler whose name escapes my mind. Let's see. I think it's like Bhupinder.
Mm.
Hang on, let's see. Wrestler. Yeah, Bhupinder Gujar. Gujar? I think that's who it is. Let's see. Yeah, that's who that is. So I don't know if they're gonna bring him in and tag him up with Jay Vidal, or if they're gonna bring back Mahabali and Raj and reform the Desi Hit Squad with those foursomes, but two of them are faces. So I don't know what they're gonna do with them. But at least I'm more interested in seeing what they're doing with Bhupinder Gujar and Jay Vidal than what they're doing with fucking Connor. Ugh. And Alan Angels. Ugh. Marcus, these are not the names I want to see. Give me more Mike Bailey's, damn it. And I think Mike Bailey should be the next face of the company. That's just I think building up to Bailey versus Alexander at Bound for Glory 2023 is the way to go.
I like it. I like it. You got to build up somebody because even with, like you said, with some of the drawbacks of Alexander, you have to with the way he's performed both as X and heavyweight champion, you have to make his the guy that takes him down believable. Like it has to be. You can't just have somebody come in and like they did so many moons ago when it was who came and knocked off Drake when he was the global force. Was it Aries? Yeah, it was Aries.
Yeah, was it Aries? No, Aries did it to Pentagon.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah, but you can't have that. Like, don't do that. And then we found out that they're also in the company just for 6 months. Like, don't do that.
Just until John Morrison beats him, and then Austin Aries runs away like a little bitch. Who did beat Drake? Is it Alberto?
Who beat? Was it Pentagon that beat Drake, or was it somebody?
No, Pentagon beats.
Because Drake definitely had the title with the Impact nameplate over the. Jesus Christ.
Because Pentagon beat somebody. I think Pentagon. Because it was a triple threat. It was Ray Phoenix, Pentagon, and somebody. And they were wrestling for the vacant title, I think. I believe in Joe Hendry.
Can't believe they canceled Stargirl. Assholes. Uh,
Well, considering how bankrupt that entire channel is, I'm not really
yeah,
surprised.
yeah. I didn't know how bad it was until I was watching something like, wow, that damn.
Oh no, you're right. We're both right. Austin Aries did unseat Eli Drake, and then Pentagon unseated Austin Aries, and then Austin Aries unseated Pentagon. So, Austin Aries is perpetually ruining my life. I think it was supposed to be. I'm all right now. Remembering it was supposed to be Austin Aries versus Alberto. That's what it was supposed to be. He was originally scheduled to defend the title against Alberto Patron. However, Patron was released from Impact on April 7th after legitimately no showing the Lucha Underground versus Impact Wrestling event in New Orleans at WrestleCon the previous night. The match became a triple threat match between Aries, Pentagon, and Ray Phoenix, which Pentagon won. So there you go. And then when they faced off at Redemption, Pentagon won again. This was a great night because it featured Eli Drake and Scott Steiner winning the tag team titles from LAX. That was dope.
Mm,
Brian Cage defeated Desmond Xavier, DJZ, El Hijo del Fantasma, Taishi Ishimori, and Trevor Lee. Ty Valkyrie defeated Kiera Hogan. Matt Seidel defeated Petey Williams. Remember when Matt Seidel was still getting booked? Then we had
yeah,
the House of Hardcore match with OVE versus Eddie Edwards, Moose, and Tommy Dreamer. That was a banger. I forgot that Allie was Knockouts champion for a hot minute.
Yeah, man. Just like you forget that Mac was even ever X Division champion.
Yep. Damn, Su Young's been in the company for 4 years now?
I wonder if she's coming back.
I would imagine. When did she have her kid? Let's see. The very best of 2021. When was she pregnant? When is this? So she should be coming back within the next few months because she got written out start of the year. So 9 months. She has the baby around September. Got to think 3 to 4, maybe 6 months tops to recover and get back into shape. If she wants to come back, because we don't know, like maybe she wants to be a stay-at-home mom. I would say maybe February would be a good time frame to see if she's back by then. Oh damn, no, she was actually should be back sometime soon. They wrote her off. So she was already long pregnant when they did the angle. Because she apparently gave birth in February
Of last year.
this year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it was revealed on the end of the year broadcast for 2021. So it makes me think that maybe they had filmed that weeks in advance or so, or maybe they knew. Hang on, let's see. Su Yung cage match. Because now I'm curious. Because I feel like she'd been more active than we realized. Oh shit, she's already back wrestling. She's just not back with the company.
Mm.
She wrestled for Don't Own Anyone Pro Wrestling. All right, that's the name. Title Match Network, Defy, and Capital Championship Wrestling. So she actually came back in July, then did 2 more shows in October and November. So I guess I'm supposed to believe that Impact wants to run with Jessica Havoc instead of Su Yung and Rosemary. I guess that's the narrative we're pushing. Whatever. Let's talk about some pushed narratives, though. We were told that CM Punk was the problem in AEW. We were told that CM Punk was a locker room malcontent, that he was very unlikable. CM Punk has a different belief. He believes that they weren't taking his advice, and when he was trying to help younger guys, they weren't listening, and he thought he was working with a bunch of children. People mocked him. Then he got fired, allegedly. Although he's still under contract, so I don't know what the hell's going on there. Then everything settles down. Then the Elite come back and they start taunting him. We find out that Kenny Omega did, in fact, actually break Punk's dog's tooth by kicking the door open. So that's a pretty scumbag thing to do. Oh, by the by, Kenny Omega apparently lied about knowing a convicted sex offender named Jason Rance. So like that's something to keep in your bonnet. Why would Omega lie about that? I don't know. Just throwing that one out there. So apparently, everyone turned on CM Punk because of it. Now everyone's like, boo Punk, and everyone's like, all right, whatever. Then we come to find out that William Regal's in AEW. Yay! And everyone loves Regal. Yay! And Regal can do no wrong. Yay! Because he's everyone's favorite grandpa. Yay! Although now apparently William Regal has requested his release. We heard a lot of rumblings. It was a 1-year contract, 3-year contract. He had an out clause if Triple H took. None of that's true. What is true is that he asked for his release because he was tired of basically withering away in a company that didn't appreciate him. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that there were a lot of people making quote unquote six figures, according to EC3, who was the one telling people this story. That there was a lot of people making six figures or more who felt that Regal's advice didn't apply to them anymore. And there was a belief that a lot of Regal's issues had to do with management. Now, some people deferred to Tony Khan. I took that because it was the same type of complaints that we were hearing. Because EC3 was providing the explanation via proxy, and according to EC3, Regal had issues with management. Now, in past, especially with the CM Punk All Out Brawl, the thing he talked about was management issues as well. Only he was referring to Omega and the Bucks. I tend to believe, considering how confrontational the Young Bucks are, and considering how, shall we say, problematic Kenny Omega can be. I mean, Cody Rhodes fell out with him. Cody Rhodes fell out with the Young Bucks. Like, that wasn't a storyline. And considering the conglomerate and clique-ish behavior with the Elite backstage, I would tend to agree that maybe when Regal has issues with management, he might be referring to the EVPs, who are in fact management, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. And if that's the case, and I firmly do believe it is the case, because Tony Khan definitely does come off as a wrestler's owner, as somebody who you would want to work for, because he would give you big chunks of money and pretty much let you do whatever you want. So if you got issues with somebody, I think it would be the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. That seems the more obvious fray, because those three dudes are the ones causing most of the conflicts. So now Regal's gone. I'm sure Regal won't ever actually explain why he left. He might still technically be under contract, but he's all but gone. If it comes to light that Regal left because of the Young Bucks and Omega, I don't see how the Young Bucks and Omega's reputation can survive it. Because with CM Punk, he's confrontational. He's not a likable dude. You either like him or you don't, and it's pretty 50-50. But Regal's universally loved. So if Regal is parroting a lot of the same things that Punk is saying about the same three people, I don't see how you can survive that type of hit in terms of your reputation. Marcus, do you think that Regal left the company because of the Young Bucks and Omega, or do you think that he just really wanted to be Triple H's buddy again?
I think it could be a combination thing because I think Regal's been in the business so long and obviously certainly at an age and have been through too much to be like, because that's what he's still in wrestling for, to help, to pass on all the wisdom and stuff. Like, look what he did for Daniel Bryan and countless others. And you know the truth is, a lot of those guys just don't naturally have that affinity to him like a lot of people would in WWE. He's got to be probably one of the most respected guys in WWE, universally. Him, Sarah, Amato, obviously, Hunter and guys like that, so on and so forth. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that at one time he was on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
So going back and forth with those guys, so his respect levels are like just almost God tier. And he's benefited so many out of that company. But I mean, obviously that whole Vince regime, whatever, was probably just not conducive to anything. Because even if you're helping so many of those guys, all your work can go for naught if the show's constantly being rewritten damn near minutes before it airs. So it could just get frustrating on both parts. If you feel bad for your mentee and you feel like you're not really able to help them as a mentor because they're getting screwed every which way from Sunday. So um, looking at things now, and then obviously with Triple H having a more hands-on approach, I could very much see him wanting to go back because I don't know if he necessarily ever wanted to leave, but I think they pushed him towards that. But I think it's a combination of things with that. I think there are probably a lot of guys to EC3's credit, which you won't hear us say often here.
No.
A lot of guys that probably got they nose up in the air, because they're making a certain amount of money. They feel like they God's best gift of wrestling. The next, I always hear that stupid quote from MJF about the bidding war of 24.
Something like that.
Yeah. So they probably got a lot of people in that company smelling themselves, and he just really doesn't have time for stuff like that. Like William Regal's akin to guys like D. Bryan, so he's probably gonna go where I think his proverbial flowers of water better, and then that's in the WWE.
So we should tell both sides of the conversation. According to SE Scoops, a couple sources did not go on the record, but did provide quotes saying that the story that EC3 said was completely inaccurate. One source noted that Carter and James being frustrated. Who's James? What James? I really wish writers would understand the rules here. You can't just do fucking like a single name and expect people to know who you're talking about. There is no James. Who the fuck is James? Oh, this is already. I have zero faith in this.
You ought to
In
go,
this.
you ought to go on the website and put that in the comment section.
So basically, here's how from top to bottom. All Elite Wrestling and its roster's attitude towards coaching has been a hotly debated subject since All Out's press conference from Hell, when CM Punk vented among a number of subjects at Hangman Page for not being open to coaching from the former AEW, WWE, and Ring of Honor champ. The latest controversy comes from EC3, who said William Regal was frustrated with talent not taking up offers to coach them prior to AEW shows and said management had maturity issues. Makes sense. Several AEW sources said that wasn't true at all and blasted Carter for floating it. One source with the company described it as completely inaccurate. One source noted Carter and James being frustrated themselves and not landing jobs in AEW, and neither them or Vince Russo have been with the company. Again, who the fuck is James? Like, I'm supposed to believe BJ Bethel and his quote-unquote sources when he's just name dropping people without actually, name dropping them. Okay. So let's run through the quotes real fast. There was no formal coaching session where it was something that was scheduled or anything like that. EC3 never said that it was. Usually he would go down to the ring to help someone, and word would spread like, hey, Regal's down there doing in the ring. The source said Dustin Rhodes trained younger women wrestlers on the roster. He also said Danielson has worked with people regularly, and sessions included talent that appeared regularly on Dynamite or Rampage. I can't believe this is a story. Another source said it's complete bullshit. There was never some schedule. Again, no one said anything about a schedule where you had to be down there at the ring and people blew it off, and Regal was never going to flat tell someone that they had to come to the ring so he could coach them. Regal would work with someone. People would go down there and show up. A lot of people took advantage of it. Other vets do it all the time. It's always the younger women and men. Sometimes someone would work with someone one-on-one. Other times there would be quite a few people down there. It was totally informal. Never in the quotes that we saw was CM Punk, or not CM Punk, was EC3 talking about it being some scheduled event. It was nobody was showing up. It wasn't about it being formal or informal. This is how you know that there's substance to the story, because they are picking apart an irrelevant piece of information. This is what happens when people get into an argument and they try to pick out the little tiny minor details to try to sway the argument and get people off the subject. The subject wasn't whether it was formal or informal. The subject was that Regal felt that he wasn't being utilized. And I can prove that because Brian Pillman Jr. publicly said that it was true. He said that people were not using Regal. People were not showing up for Regal. People were not picking Regal's brain. Pillman said that he, Wheeler Yuta, and Lee Moriarty were the only three cats that were constantly using Regal, that were going down there to talk to Regal. So clearly these sources are probably the people that are being inundated with accusations that they're being assholes. The Bucks, Hangman Page, Kenny Omega. I wouldn't be surprised if these are the dudes who are leaving these fucking comments. So, here's the rest of it. Regal would sit in the stands with guys to talk about the fans' point of view or the point of view of watching on TV. He would tell you about making sure how to know you were looking to fans as you come to the ring, or how you would look on TV. He said he said to make sure you're always really nice to the camera guys, are the ones who make you look good. again, none of this had anything to do with the original comments by EC3, which is that William Regal wanted to leave because he felt that he wasn't being properly utilized by the talent that he was apparently there to help train. So I think when you start to see people try to explain away narratives like that, that's when you know there's actual a heat to this. Now, I don't think EC3 is the most trustworthy person, but when Brian Pillman Jr. goes out on Twitter and said, hey, some of us were doing it, I think that's kind of, like some of us were picking his brain. Some of us were, in fact, doing this. That gives credence to the fact that most people weren't. And when you have someone like Hangman Page, who is not a good wrestler, he is not a great personality. He is somebody with very powerful friends in powerful places. He is short test. He is 5'10" Andrew Martin. And when you get such a rocket ship shoved up your ass and you fail hard, guys like CM Punk and William Regal are going to want to, hey, let's sit down and let's talk. CM Punk's already said that he's not receptive to that. I'm supposed to believe that William Regal is going to have any better with Page? Page is a former world champion. Why would he listen to Regal? Regal was never a world champion. So when you start to see these things, yeah, I think you get a real strong idea that there's some real heat to this. And considering that we're now seeing issues with Punk, with Andrade, with Rusev, with Regal, there's a lot of people here who are not happy. And I think it's becoming obvious that there is management issues in this company. I think the people who are doing a lot of these quote unquote interviews and quotes that are going unnamed, I think those are the guys in question. I think those are your Omegas, your Bucks. Otherwise, put your fucking name to it. So, yeah, I think there's a lot to this story, and I think people need to start to brace for the inevitable. So let's see. Claudio Castagnoli, a member of the Regal's Blackpool Combat Club, was asked about the news by Dallas Morning News. He responded, we have to wait and see. We're still talking. I think we have a little group meeting to figure out what's next, or if there is a next, I'll leave it at that. I never stopped learning from him. He's the reason I got into WWE in the first place back in 2011, and he was one of the reasons why I really, felt at home when I got to AEW because he was there. So, if Regal's gone, I think a lot of people might be heading towards the exits, which really wouldn't be that surprising. So, Marcus, do we blame the Bucks? Do we blame Omega?
Oh man, look, William Regal is too seasoned in life and in wrestling to be sticking around someplace he may not be wanted. Like I said, I would imagine the only reason why he's still even involved in wrestling, obviously because he loves it, but it's to help the next guys that's up. And if he feel like he's in a place where he feel like that's not being properly utilized, he's not going to waste time. So I get it, but I mean, look, kind of the Pillman thing with how we've seen, like you said, it's very cliquish and stuff like that. But with how we've seen just how kind of childish Khan's been on social media, him coming out saying that don't benefit him at all.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of kissing up and towing the company line. So, but he's also been another one of those individuals who's seen a lot less TV time. So it certainly doesn't benefit him. So it also doesn't come off, somebody who wants to come out with false stuff to stir up mess. So credence to that, and obviously, like you said, we don't be going around singing the praise of EC3, but he might be very well one of those guys who would have been under the Regal learning tree. So uh, I think we could blame a little bit of everybody. Like you said, the Bucks and Omega, because essentially they are what the EVPs, and they dictate a lot of that pace, particularly when it comes to the talent. But obviously, Khan got the last say, so it's kind of like a all in, no pun intended situation with that.
I guess you could say, Marcus, the buck stops with them. All right, I'm done. Speaking of done, I'm done with wrestling because apparently back in like 2007, 2008, when Brock was done with New Japan, apparently the big blonde Vanilla Gorilla. I was going to try to make a Scott Steiner reference, but I couldn't come up with anything fun. The Vanilla Gorilla himself was apparently very interested in showing up in TNA. Kurt Angle on his podcast went out and said that Brock had contacted him and asked him what was Kurt making an impact. Kurt told Brock, and basically it was 7 figures. And Brock said, if you can get me that contract that you have, I will join TNA. Apparently, the Carters were already at their budget, and considering they had Sting and Angle were already making 7 figures each, I would imagine, and this was probably late 06, early 07, I would say, wasn't a lot of extra money. And, maybe they didn't see Brock as the needle mover. If that's the case, they're idiots. But then again, we saw how they were managed, so maybe they were idiots. I don't know. But the money wasn't able to be developed, and Brock ended up going into the OC instead. I cannot tell you how angry I am that this story exists, because if you were to tell me that in 06, 07, 08, that Brock Lesnar could have been in TNA with Sting, who was still pretty prime worthy, Jeff Jarrett, Kurt Angle, Abyss, Samoa Joe, AJ freaking Styles, Monty Brown was still there for a spell, depending on what time we were. Actually, no, I think Monty Brown was gone by the time Angle showed up, or was he? I think he was around until early 07. No, he wasn't, because in early 07 he was doing WrestleMania. That's right. You still had Ron Killings for a while, and Ron Killings and Brock Lesnar are apparently real tight. Brock finds Ron real charming and funny. So if Brock Lesnar ever starts committing swaths of genocides, we know he won't hurt Ron Killings. So at least that there's that. Pac-Man Jones, Low-Key, Chris Sabin, Christopher Daniels, AMW, LAX, Hernandez, Brock. That'd been a nice house fight. Matt Morgan, there, Marcus. I am mad. I am mad that this story exists. Would you have liked to have seen Brock in TNA, and what do you think that would have looked like had Brock appeared in TNA at the peak of his athletic prowess?
I don't know. I don't even know. I think I want to try to imagine it. It's just something that I just have to see because he's been with WWE for so long. It's kind of how I only exclusively associate him. I try not to be like that because it creates a level, I think, small-mindedness, willful ignorance, particularly when it comes to the fan bases talking about other potentialities. Because it'll be a situation like they're so used to him being affiliated with WWE, they won't even entertain what you just said being a real potentiality. Like, like AJ almost stayed with Impact before he went to WWE. Like him and the club actually.
Yeah,
Um,
AJ almost went back.
yeah, almost went back. But you talk to some people now, like, no, that was never a thing. It was always destined for WWE. Okay, whatever gets push you to sleep at night, you in the community, whatever puts you to sleep at night, kid. But yeah, it'd just be something I'd have to see because just Brock in that environment, in that classic TNA coming out the tunnel, you know, him going against Angles, the AJ Styles, the Matt Morgans, the Abysses. Um, that'll just be something I'd have to see, man. But Joe, all those guys. So it definitely would have been something to see, like a stare down between Brock Lesnar and, as Skill Vaughn would say, Sting. Like that'll be that just would have been interesting, man. Like to say the least. But again, the company trying to stay in the red and be cash flow positive. I can understand. Cause ain't no way they got Sting. Ain't no way that woman got Sting to stay as long as he did, and it wasn't extremely financially lucrative for him to do so. So
Booker,
it
Nash,
Steiner.
Scotty Steiner, Rick Steiner, Team 3D, both Pudgy and Bully Ray. Like there were so many guys, especially Scott Steiner. Like, could you imagine Scott and Brock doing a promo? Ah, listen here, you vanilla gorilla. You're fat. You're fat. Look at that chunks. You're fat. Ah,
Oh
Scott
man.
Steiner called Brock Lesnar fat. Ah. Oh, I need this in my life. Oh, Black Machismo Jay Lethal. Could you imagine? Could you imagine Brock talking to what would you call him?
Can you, can you imagine
Shell,
Brock?
yeah, Shark Boy and Black Machismo Jay Lethal.
Freaking imagine Brock in the suit with the main event mafia. Come on, man.
But his suit's just like the arms are off, so like
Yeah,
he's
I'm
wearing
just
like
gonna
like
say
a
the
white
freaking arms are
T-shirt,
off.
a
Like
tie, and like a nice coat, but there's no sleeves.
like when Batista debuted with Devon.
Basically, yeah, that's literally what I'm thinking.
oh,
That is literally what I'm thinking.
oh man.
And we could have gotten it had the Carters not been such frugal little fucks.
uh,
20-year-old Chad is very mad right now. I know this because 36-year-old Chad is very mad right now. Damn it! Speaking of damn, double damn. Dustin Rhodes has officially announced he's retiring from wrestling this year. It's the final countdown. I hate Bryan Danielson's theme song, damn it. It is terrible. That has nothing to do with anything. I just needed to say it.
yeah, it needed to be known.
It needed to be said. Like, Roman Reigns is pretty solid. Like, it really is. I wouldn't say it's like a great theme song, but it's like a great song on its own. It's not nearly as good as Joe Hendry's, which may be the best song on the Impact roster at the moment. But it's not bad. But Gold Dust, Dustin Rhodes, Seven, whatever, Black Ring, whatever you want to call him, the grandson of a plumber, has announced that in 2023 he will retire. I think it was kind of implied that he will wrestle all of 2023, so that he will retire at the end of the year. But what's a little surprising is he's only 53. Considering Ricky Steamboat, which I have not seen that match yet, so I kind of got to get on that. Steamboat wrestled at 69. Flair wrestled at like, what, 73? 71? I feel like 53 is no longer that old. Are you sad to say goodbye to the natural, Marcus?
A little bit, man, but all good things come to an end. I'm glad he's able to, one of the few guys we see be able to go out on his own terms. He's been at this thing a long time, man. Ups and downs, big smiles, big frowns. Um, got to do it at a high levels, had some classics, been involved in some hilarious stuff, career highlights galore. Got to do it big with his brother and his father in some real good fashion. Before the late great passed away, and yeah, I mean, I think this is one of the situations where you can't say any regrets, because with personal demons and such, it could have got cut short a long time ago, you know.
Yeah, you're not wrong. We're lucky to have had him for as long as we have doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
I will say that I think maybe some of this is kind of because Cody left him. He did make a I forget who he did an interview with recently, but he basically said that he wishes Cody was still there. And even though they are fathers or sons of a father, they have different mothers and are 13, 15 years apart or something like that, or even nearly 18 years, because Cody's, what, 36? So 17 years apart. So they didn't really grow up together, but they have had a very strong bond over the last decade. And I think for Dustin, he, I'm sure, is kind of missing some of that desire now that his brother's gone. So I'm not surprised at all that he's ready to call it quits. I will say, though, that I don't trust anyone in wrestling. I don't trust athletes in general. So when he says, yeah, I'm going to retire at the age of 53, I'm thinking, okay, Shawn Michaels.
Yeah,
We'll see how that goes.
yeah, we'll see. But I mean, but just the fact that he can still go at the level that he can at his age, but like I said, everything he's been through, both in and out of the ring, it's a real testament. Like, that he had that great run. Um, at that one, I forgot the year it was in WWE, but it was a time where people were like, what the freak fountain of youth did he get when he was on? I think that was when he was tagging with his brother. Um,
2014, I think.
yeah, when we had that great run because he was absolutely killing it, going head up with the Usos and whatnot. And like I said, he's had a hell of a run. It's even greater to hear that their relationship has grown between the two of them, particularly with their father no longer being there. So. I would imagine it does get kind of lonely and cold, man. He's the elder statesman on a roster full of, you know, no pun intended, young bucks. So, I would imagine a lot of that momentum had to, for him trying to stay around was, with his brother. Who knows? Like you said, you can't trust that, particularly with wrestling. He might do a tour, and it just conveniently happens to end in WWE around the time his brother comes back. You know. Doors are always open, particularly with Triple H. So.
And he hasn't wrestled that much this year. He's only wrestled 5
Yeah.
times on television for AEW.
Exactly. So.
So I guess maybe he's winding down after all. So that's all I got for you this week. Marcus, anything else you want to touch on before we say good night?
No, that's all. Nothing else. Nothing else big transpired. I guess we're drawing ever so closer though to that. On the road to the Great Muda's final. His final countdown, if you will. What that shows, what either end of this month or next month.
I think it's the start of next month.
Okay.
Let's
'Cause I had seen
let's
something
do a
about
Google.
it.
I want to say it's right after the Dome show.
Yeah. Shout
Yeah.
out.
January.
Yeah. Shout out. January what? 6th.
Hang on, no, might be February. No, January 22nd.
Gotcha. Yeah.
It'll be
But
Muda, Sting, and Darby Allin versus unknown opponents.
yeah. Well, a shout out to them Impact boys, man. Chris Bay and Ace Austin putting in some good work in the tag league out here. So representing.
Haven't seen it yet, but I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
All right, well, that'll do it for this week. We'll be back next week for another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. We got to sit down and talk about our year-end awards, so keep an eye out for that. Probably next 2 weeks or so we'll settle that up. RealNerdCorp.com, RealNerdCorp.com. We're on Twitter at NERDCRP. We're on Instagram at nope, no, we're not. Marcus, you can be found on Twitter at ParadoxKid, ParadoxKid.
That's the kid.
There it is. You can also find them on this other podcast, The True Printing Show, on Twitter at TruePennyShow. Go check them out. They talk about Gleet and all of their favorite songs that they sing every episode. Ha! Hilarious. I make myself laugh. You can find me on Twitter at ChadNerdCorp, ChadNerdCorp, and on the Instagram at Chad's Photo at ChadSPHOTOHUT. Once again, you can find us on Twitter at NERDCRP and on the website RealNerdCorp.com. For Mark Stern, I'm Chad Porto. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for giving us a chance. Remember, as always, to watch more wrestling. And Marcus, take us home.
Good night, me.